So here's the truth most men learn the hard way. Letting the wrong person into your life isn't just a bad date. It's not a funny story. It's not character development. It can be a demolition charge you willingly hand to someone else and then act surprised when your peace disappears. If you're building something, your fitness, your money, your career, your reputation, your mental stability, then who you choose as a partner becomes either a multiplier or a liability. The right woman doesn't just fit your life, she strengthens it. She makes you more focused, more disciplined, more optimistic. She adds calm. She adds order. She becomes an ally to your future. You become a better man around her because the relationship is built on respect, clarity, and teamwork. But bring the wrong woman into your inner circle, and the damage doesn't always show up like a movie villain. It's quieter than that. It starts as little chaos, constant misunderstandings, constant tests, constant drama that somehow always becomes your job to fix. Then it turns into distraction, then resentment, then exhaustion. Then you look up one day and realize you're spending your best years managing problems instead of building your life. This isn't hating women. This is reality. Your time, your energy, your attention, your reputation, those are your non-renewable resources. You don't hand them out because someone is attractive, fun, or available. You hand them out because someone has proven they deserve access. Welcome back. This channel is about practical psychology for modern relationships. No fantasy, no coping, no pretending the world works the way it should. We talk about how it actually works, what to watch for, and how to move like a man who respects himself. Today we're talking about a subject that causes arguments every single time it comes up. How a person's relationship history can predict how they'll show up in a committed relationship. Let me be clear before we go any further. This is not a women are bad episode. This is not a purity lecture. This is not about shaming anyone. Adults make choices. People grow. People change. And nobody is entitled to your commitment just because they want it. What this is about is vetting. It's about pattern recognition. It's about using your brain instead of your hormones when you decide who gets access to your future. Because here's the part men avoid saying out loud. In real life, the past isn't irrelevant. The past is data, not a verdict data. If somebody has a long pattern of unstable relationships, constant falling outs, rapid rebounds, chaotic friendships, and a need for constant novelty, that doesn't magically disappear because you took them to dinner and you're different. It might improve with time and self-awareness, sure, but you don't bet your life on someone's potential when the current evidence says they're not built for consistency. And this isn't just true about women. It's true about men too. A man with a trail of broken commitments, impulsive decisions, substance problems, uncontrolled anger, or constant drama isn't suddenly a safe husband because he bought a ring. A ring doesn't heal character flaws. Time and work do. So the conversation isn't men good, women bad. The conversation is, what traits predict stability, loyalty, maturity, and long-term satisfaction, and how do you spot those traits early? Because the marketplace right now is loud. Everybody has a brand. Everybody has a highlight reel. Dating apps reward instant chemistry and short attention spans. Social media rewards performance, but marriage, real partnership rewards temperament. It rewards emotional control. It rewards humility. It rewards cooperation. It rewards delayed gratification. It rewards people who can handle boredom, routine, stress, and conflict without self-destructing. If you want a serious relationship, you can't pick based on entertainment value. You pick based on reliability. And reliability is not a vibe, it's a track record. Now, some of you are already thinking, Harold, are you saying someone's sexual past matters? What I'm saying is this: the details aren't your business to obsess over, but the patterns are absolutely your business to consider because patterns reveal values, impulse control, attachment style, and how someone handles intimacy. A healthy adult understands this without getting defensive. If you're interviewing for a high trust role, business partner, co founder, someone who will raise your kids, you don't only ask about their dreams, you ask about their habits. You ask about their decisions under pressure. You ask what they do when they're bored, lonely, stressed, or tempted. Because that's where people show you who they really are. And that brings me to the first big principle. A man has to stop confusing attraction with alignment. Attraction is easy. Alignment is rare. Alignment means you both want the same future. You both respect the same boundaries. You both have compatible values around loyalty, family, money, conflict, and lifestyle. Alignment means when the early dopamine wears off, and it always does, you still like how this person moves, how they think, how they treat people, and how they handle stress. A lot of men don't fail because they chose a bad woman. They fail because they chose a woman based on looks and chemistry, and then tried to build a life on top of it without checking the foundation. Chemistry doesn't fix character. Chemistry just makes you ignore red flags faster. So let's talk about red flags in a way that actually helps you without cliches, without insults, without pretending one gender is angelic and the other is evil. Here are the categories you should care about if you want a stable, respectful relationship. First, accountability. Accountability is the ability to say, I was wrong, without turning it into a war. It's the ability to apologize without adding a but. It's the ability to take feedback without collapsing into shame or exploding into anger. Watch how she speaks about her exes, not because her past is a crime, but because her language reveals her mindset. If every ex is a narcissist, crazy, abusive, immature, broke, jealous, controlling, and she's the innocent victim in every story, pay attention. Maybe she had bad luck, or maybe she has a pattern of choosing chaos and then rewriting history to avoid accountability. A mature woman can say, that relationship ended because we weren't compatible, or I made mistakes, or I ignored signs I shouldn't have ignored. She can speak about the past without being bitter and without pretending she was perfect. Second, stability. Stability is boring to people who are addicted to intensity. Some people confuse anxiety with passion. They confuse drama with love. They confuse uncertainty with excitement. They confuse arguing with chemistry. If her life is constantly in flux jobs, cities, friend groups, identity, goals, routines, then understand what that often means. She's living in reaction mode. And reaction mode is not where you build a peaceful home. Again, this isn't a moral judgment. It's a prediction problem. Someone who has practiced instability for years may struggle with the steady rhythm of a long-term partnership, not because they're evil, but because their nervous system is conditioned to chase novelty. Third, relationship skills. The question isn't, has she dated? The question is, has she learned how to do commitment? There are people who have a lot of experience, but almost no skill. They've had many situationships, many short relationships, many almosts, but they never learned how to repair conflict, how to communicate needs without manipulation, how to negotiate boundaries, how to stay loyal when things get boring, how to be kind when they're disappointed. Those are skills. They're not automatic, and you can tell who has them by how they handle small friction. Watch what happens when you say no. Watch what happens when you disagree politely. Watch what happens when you can't text back immediately because you're working. Watch what happens when you set a boundary. A woman with emotional maturity will respect it. A woman who needs control will punish you for it. And punishment can look like silence, guilt, withdrawal, flirting with other men to provoke you, vague threats, or suddenly testing your loyalty. Fourth, integrity. Integrity is what someone does when no one is watching. It's honesty, even when lying would be easier. It's consistency between words and actions. If you want marriage-level commitment, you should care deeply about integrity. Not perfect behavior, integrity. Does she keep her promises? Does she show up on time? Does she handle money responsibly? Does she tell the truth in small things? Does she treat service workers with respect? Does she have female friends who are stable and grounded? Or is her social circle a rotating cast of chaos? Because here's another truth. Your partner's friend group is a preview of your future environment. People absorb the norms of the people around them. If her closest friends normalize cheating, attention seeking, and disrespect, you're not just dating her, you're dating that culture. Now let's address the part men struggle with: how to talk about the past without being insecure, obsessive, or disrespectful. A lot of guys make two opposite mistakes. Mistake one, they interrogate. They sit her down like it's a courtroom. How many bodies? Who? When? Where? What happened? Did you? That doesn't show confidence, it shows obsession, and it turns the relationship into a power struggle. Mistake two, they pretend nothing matters. They act like history is irrelevant, like patterns don't exist, like commitment is a coin flip and you just trust. Then they ignore obvious warning signs because they want to be seen as progressive, chill, unbothered. Both approaches fail. The mature approach is to focus on values and patterns, not explicit details. You don't need a number. You need answers to deeper questions. What have you learned about yourself in relationships? What does loyalty mean to you? How do you handle temptation? How do you repair conflict? What does commitment look like in your world? What kind of life are you trying to build in the next 5 years? A woman who is ready for a serious partnership will answer those clearly, without defensiveness, and her actions will match her words over time. A woman who is not ready will dodge, get angry, shame you for asking, or give you vague answers that sound good but mean nothing. And yes, sometimes people will try to flip the script. Why do you care? That's controlling. That's insecure. Real men don't ask. Listen carefully. A man who is choosing a wife is allowed to care about compatibility. A man who wants peace is allowed to vet for peace. A man who wants stability is allowed to vet for stability. The key is how you do it, calmly, respectfully, with standards, and without humiliation. Now let me tell you a story, because stories make the point better than theory. I had a friend, let's call him Mark, who wanted to be the cool, enlightened guy. He dated a woman who was magnetic, social, fun, always the center of attention. And on the surface, everything looked great, but there were little tells. She needed constant external validation. Her phone was never face up. She stayed close with exes in a way that felt less like maturity and more like insurance. She had a history of short, intense relationships that ended in explosions. She had a habit of turning boredom into trouble. Mark ignored it because the chemistry was strong and because he didn't want to be judgmental. Then real life showed up: stress, bills, responsibilities, disagreements. And she did what she had always done: she escaped. Not necessarily physically at first, mentally, emotionally. She checked out. And when you're building a life with someone who checks out under pressure, you will slowly become a single man inside a relationship. Mark eventually realized he wasn't dealing with one problem. He was dealing with a pattern. She didn't have the skills or the temperament for steady partnership. She wanted the feelings of love without the discipline of love. She wanted the benefits of commitment without the sacrifice. That relationship didn't fail because she was bad. It failed because Mark didn't vet for the traits he actually needed. That's the lesson. The goal isn't to find someone with a spotless past. The goal is to find someone with the right character, the right values, and the right readiness. Readiness matters because there are plenty of good people who are not ready. Not ready to communicate, not ready to be loyal when life gets boring, not ready to build instead of chase, not ready to stop performing and start partnering. Now, I want to talk about something men rarely hear, said in a balanced way. Why modern dating feels like a minefield. It's not because women are terrible or men are terrible. It's because incentives are warped. Apps create abundance on the screen and scarcity in real life. Social media teaches people to crave attention more than intimacy. Hookup culture encourages short term thinking, and the loudest voices online usually profit from keeping you angry, insecure, and reactive. Here's what that environment does to people: it rewards quick replacements instead of repair. It rewards surface level options instead of depth. It teaches people that the moment friction appears, you upgrade rather than learn. So, yes, you're seeing more people who struggle to sustain long term satisfaction. Not because humans are broken, but because the culture trains people to chase novelty and avoid discomfort. And commitment is discomfort sometimes. Commitment means you don't always get the dopamine. You get responsibility, you get routine, you get problem solving, you get teamwork, you get sacrifice, you get long term reward. That's why vetting is essential. Because if you're a man building a legacy: kids, home, business, long term peace, you cannot afford to choose a partner who is addicted to the short term, addicted to attention, addicted to validation, addicted to intensity, addicted to drama, addicted to being desired more than being devoted. Now let's get practical. Because theory is cheap, here's how a man actually vets in the real world without acting paranoid or insecure. Step one us: slow down. If you move too fast, you're not romantic. You're just making it impossible to evaluate. Time reveals patterns. Pressure reveals character. Boundaries reveal maturity. Give it enough time for her mask to slip, because everyone is on their best behavior in the first month. A lot of people can fake kindness when they're getting what they want. Not everyone can sustain it when they're challenged. Step two: watch conflict early. Conflict isn't a sign you're doomed. It's a diagnostic tool. When something small goes wrong: miscommunication, a late text, a disagreement about plans, watch how she responds. Does she assume good intent or bad intent? Does she ask questions or accuse? Does she try to solve or try to punish? Does she calm down or escalate? A woman who can do conflict well is rare, and she is worth her weight in gold. Step three: look for consistency, not performance. A lot of people are impressive on dates. Few people are impressive on a random Tuesday. Consistency looks like steady emotions, stable routines, clear values, responsible choices, healthy friendships, and a life that makes sense. Step 4. Pay attention to her relationship with accountability. When she messes up, does she own it? When she's stressed, does she become cruel? When she's disappointed, does she communicate or manipulate? Step 5. Evaluate her orientation toward family and partnership. If you want marriage and kids, you need someone who actually respects those roles, not just someone who likes the aesthetic. Does she talk about building a life or just living a life? Does she value teamwork, or is everything about her independence and her freedom and her self expression with no mention of responsibility? Independence is fine, freedom is fine, but a family requires duty, and duty requires maturity. Now, some of you want a clean checklist. I'm going to give you one. Green flags that matter. She's kind when she doesn't have to be. She has stable long-term friendships. She speaks respectfully about people, even exes. She can apologize and repair. She's consistent with communication. She has a life she's proud of, built on real choices, not chaos. She respects your boundaries. She doesn't need constant attention from other men. Her lifestyle matches the future she says she wants. Red flags that matter. She thrives on drama and calls it passion. She needs constant validation from social media or male attention. She keeps exes close in a way that feels like backup plans. She punishes boundaries. She escalates conflict quickly. She avoids accountability and rewrites every story to be the victim. She has a pattern of short, intense relationships with messy endings. Substance abuse and untreated mental health issues she refuses to address. She lies about small things. Her words and actions don't match. Notice what I didn't put on that list: insults, degrading labels, or simplistic metaphors. Because high-level men don't need to degrade women to protect themselves. High-level men use discernment. Now let's talk about standards, because standards are not control. A lot of men are afraid to have standards because they don't want to be criticized. They don't want to be called insecure. They don't want to be called judgmental. But here's your reality. If you don't choose your standards, the culture chooses them for you. And the culture right now is not optimized for your peace. It's optimized for your attention. You're allowed to want a woman who's emotionally steady. You're allowed to want a woman who's loyal. You're allowed to want a woman who values privacy over attention. You're allowed to want a woman who's serious about family. You're allowed to want a woman who can do conflict without chaos. And you're also allowed to walk away if you don't see those traits, without hatred, without drama, without needing to win the breakup. That's what self-respect looks like. Now I'm going to address the uncomfortable part for men. Your own discipline matters too. You don't get to demand stability while you live recklessly. You don't get to demand loyalty while you entertain options. You don't get to demand peace while you bring chaos. If you want a high-quality woman, you need to become a man who can lead a high-quality life. That means building competence, building emotional control, building financial responsibility, building health, building social reputation, and building a life that has direction. Not to impress women, because if your only motivation is women, you'll collapse when you get rejected. You build because it's your job as a man to build. And then you choose a partner who respects what you've built, not someone who competes with it, drains it, or tries to reshape it into something that serves her ego. So what's the takeaway? Be selective without being bitter. Be cautious without being paranoid. Vet without humiliating. Lead with respect, but don't lead with desperation. Don't let attraction override evaluation. Don't confuse intensity with compatibility. Don't confuse attention with affection. Don't confuse "she chose me" with "she's qualified." Qualification is proven over time. And if you're serious about your future, your home, your kids, your legacy, then treat partner selection like the most important hire you'll ever make. Not because women are dangerous, but because commitment is powerful. The wrong commitment can cost you years. The right commitment can upgrade your entire life. If this helped you think more clearly, subscribe and stay here. This channel is for men who want reality, not fantasies. Men who want peace, not performative relationships. Men who want to build something that lasts. And here's a challenge. In your next relationship, don't ask yourself only, do I like her? Ask, does her life show the traits I need for my future? Because your future does not care about your feelings today. It cares about your choices. Type inner circle in the comments if you're done gambling with your life and you're ready to vet for stability, character, and peace. I'll see you in the next one.